Sixers win it! Wow!
Oh, man, Embiid just posterized Russell Westbrook.
You love the Philadelphia Eagles! Let me get a hell yeah!
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Party on Broad. The Party on Broad podcast can be found on iTunes and Spotify. Smash that like and subscribe button if you're watching us here on YouTube. Today, we are less than a month away from the NFL draft. And today we're going to just do a little bit more reaction of the Eagles moving back from number 6 to number 12. And we are going to rank our top 3 prospects, best prospects for the Philadelphia Eagles. Joining me today is my man Shane. You know him on Twitter at @halfandhalf_TBL. What is going on, Shane?
Not much, man. I'm ready to talk about some draft. We got to talk about some different guys now that we're at 12, but it's draft stuff, so I'm always excited about it.
Love it, man. Christmas is almost here. We also have Rob coming. He's running a little bit late, but also, special guest today. He is Chris Malley. Follow him on Twitter at Malley_Chris_24. He is a journalist for Fourth and John, one of the best Eagle followers, period. What is up, Chris?
What's going on, guys? I mean, we talked a little bit pre-show about the trade back and targets that we're going to talk about. I mean, there's a reason why I always try to focus on an array of names, because the possibility of the trade back's always there, because people are like, just talk about Chase, just talk about Pitts, just talk about Smith. It's like, now you have to talk about a whole different group of guys, and it's going to be exciting.
And then we have the voice of the people. He is Rob Lange. Follow him on Twitter at Philly_Madness. What is up, Rob?
I apologize for my tardiness. I was trying to figure out a way to Laramie Tunsil Jamar Chase so that he falls to the Eagles at 12. Put his head on a body with a mask on or something. As I have found a way to, as every day has gone by since this trade, gotten angrier and angrier. Mm. And today's pro days did not help my my sanity. They certainly did not help my sanity today.
Did you Kyle Pitts run? God. Anyway, we're going to get into that. We're going to do a little grading of the trade. We have had some time to kind of just mull it over a little bit. Then we're going to get into our, rankings for the Eagles at number 12. But first, a quick word from our sponsor.
Hey, what's up, guys? March Madness is here. The NBA and NHL are both in full swing. Baseball opening day is coming up, while we here at the Painted Lines are devoted to bringing you top-notch content from all the major sports. We are excited to also now give you the opportunity to cash in on all that content and knowledge. If you follow the link below, you will have the opportunity to sign up with BetRivers, an online sportsbook, and get an instant new user deposit match of up to $250. That's free money that you can use and try to turn into more free money. Let's go. Don't sit there and waste all that money. Turn every basket into an otherwise meaningless Cavs-Timberwolves matchup on a random Wednesday in March. That makes it all the more exciting. For betting tips and advice, be sure to check out written content from our top prognosticator, Money Max, on our website at thepaintedlines.com, or check out the Tough Cover podcast right here on the Painted Lines YouTube channel. You've seen the commercials all over TV and radio, but now is the time. Sign up today with BetRivers using the link below and start cashing in on your love for sports. Using the link below will automatically inform BetRivers that TPL sent you, and you'll get that new user deposit match of up to $250. Don't miss out on this opportunity for some free money, baby.
All right, guys. Business is over. Now that we've had the time to process the Eagles of trading from number 6 to number 12, netting a first rounder in 2022, let's talk about grades. A to F, how do you think it impacts the Eagles draft strategy? Lead us off, Rob.
I have a feeling I'm going to be the most negative person here today, so you might as well start with me, and then you could talk everybody else off the ledge, because I'm going to keep them there. I am so against this trade for so many reasons. Number one, 3 first-round picks sounds great. But what I look at is Howie Roseman just bought himself another year because he says to Jeffrey Lurie, well, we got 3 first-round picks. Let me get to those picks. Let me get there. So we got to deal with I'm calling him Napoleon Roseman from now on because he's obviously has a Napoleon complex. So Napoleon Roseman's going to be here. That's the first thing. Secondly, I am tired of the smartest guy in the room mentality that this team consistently does. If the reports are true, and this was because, well, they thought that Chase and Pitts would be gone by then. That might be. And actually, for the life of Howie Roseman, I pray that they are gone before 6. Because after today, if one of them is sitting there at 6, there's going to be backlash that is even above and beyond for Philadelphia, if you ask me. I think that's the case. And lastly, I understand that the Eagles have a lot of needs and that one player wasn't going to win it for them this year. But my issue is this team never wants to just get that star in the making, that Jamar Chase, that Kyle Pitts. They always have to just outthink everybody. And when you're sitting at 6, it's a lot harder. And Jamie Lynch has said this a lot. I know he said this with you, Chris, earlier this week. It's a lot harder to screw up 6 than it is to screw up 12. And I don't have faith in this Eagles organization and the guys at the top to make the right selection at 12. Like, yeah, there's probably going to be some guys there, but who's to say they're not going to try and outthink it? So if I'm giving it a grade, and yeah, I'm probably going overboard here, but I'm giving it a D because of all those reasons I just stated. Sometimes just do the easy thing. Don't try and be smarter than everybody else.
Shane, grades on this Eagles trade, quick.
Did you say quick?
Take
I get the quick. I get the quick after that. No, are we doing the positives and negatives after this?
Not yet, not yet.
My grade real quick.
Yeah, just like what's your grade and how does it impact the draft strategy now at 12?
Okay, so I'm going to give it like an A-. I think it's great value for a non-QB trade. Obviously, the Dolphins get more to move down from 3 because the 49ers are trading up for a quarterback. I fully expect quarterbacks to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And so the Eagles were not in a position to leverage a quarterback on the board to trade back. Now, is there risk? I mean, sure, you don't know who's going to be there, but you're very unlikely to have gotten more on draft day than the Eagles got now. And so you look at how it affects the draft. I mean, I think it's going to make you a little more reactive because you got to, it makes you more reactive to how the board presents itself. You have to cast a little wider net into the first round. I think it's likely that they have their eye on some guys that would have been overdrafts at 6 that are a little more in value at that range. Now, my biggest fear is that means they're in on one of the edge rushers, Pay, Rousseau, or Phillips. That's my biggest fear. That would be a very Eagles move, and I don't think any of them are worth that pick. And so that's my biggest fear with the whole trade.
Justin says, "Come on, Shane, just grade it." Oh, you gave it an A-, right? Chris,
I'm gonna need some harassment for Rob, Justin.
No, I'm right. You're wrong. It's okay.
Chris, what is your grade on this trade now? We had a few days to kind of think it over, and what's the impact on the draft strategy?
On paper, I have to give it like a B-, C+. It's really hard because this is one of those like Khalil Mack deals where like you're not really getting to know how it turns out until like 3-4 years down the road when you see how the players and all the compensation works out. The reason why I'm not too high about it, and this is from someone that's talked about moving back on principle, it's because we all said, like, if we could lock Howie Roseman in the bathroom during the draft and, like, the Eagles hack the system and we pick the pick at 12, maybe. But like Shane said, if we draft another edge rusher, I don't care how good he is. It's just like, what are we doing here? Because we talked about when we had McNabb, we talked about when we had Carson Wentz, we were looking for the elite talent to build around him and to enhance the play, have Aaron Rodgers, he had his Devontae Adams, and you just know that when you have that guy that you can trust, it makes a world's difference. Do teams with superstar wide receivers always get to the big game? Not always, but at the same time, it's something that we haven't tried, and it's something that we really need for a quarterback like Jalen Hurts if you're going to give him a legitimate chance. Like, don't fail Hurts like you did with past quarterbacks by not getting him a weapon. And after seeing what Kyle Pitts and Jamar Chase did at their pro days, it's going to drive people nuts because people know that one of the two could have possibly very well been there at 6. And that's why Shane alluded to, like, why not wait till draft day? And he said, like, maybe you weren't going to get more compensation. But I thought, why wouldn't you wait until after the pro day? Because both these guys just put on a show. So it probably would have added value to our pick, because guys behind us, like the Dolphins, after their trade back, or teams right behind us would have been like, wow, like, we really want to get these two guys. Maybe we can get up to 6 and get either Kyle Pitts. If it just seems like the Eagles were never dead set on either guy if they wanted to move back, and maybe they think that they're going to hit on the compensation all of a sudden. And one big thing was the leaked story that, like, they were really saying, like, if they couldn't get to number 2 and get Zach Wilson, it wasn't worth moving up. And then it just is a really – the reason why I'm all on board is because it seems like they don't know exactly what they're doing. People can defend them, but the thing is, we know what this draft class is. It's loaded. There's guys that are going to fall to the second round that would have been first-round picks last year and probably would have been first-round picks next year, top 10 picks, and guys are going to fall to the second round. Next year, there's guys like Derek Stingley that you really like, but anything can happen between now and then. The reason why they want to accumulate picks next year has nothing to do with building the team. It's because they're not sure about what Jalen Hurts is, nor should they be sure what he is. He's only played 4 games, so they want to net as many picks and capital as possible in case they need to move up to get a quarterback next year.
That's it.
And
Go ahead, Rob.
I want to piggyback off of that, because what they've done in the last in under 2 years, 2 calendar years, is they've torpedoed 2 quarterbacks. All right. First, they torpedoed Carson by drafting Jalen Hurts in the first place, right? If you're going to do that, if you're going to draft this guy in the second round, you better be in love with him. And they're obviously not. And I agree with Chris. They shouldn't be in love with him right now. Like, there's a lot that needs to be proven. But then the story leaks out that you're trying to get up to get Zach Wilson, who, once again, could be a great quarterback. And then all of a sudden, Ian Rappaport tried to, clean it up, which means Howie Roseman called Ian Rappaport and said, "How dare you do that to me? I give you all this information, clean this mess up." Because that's how Howie runs. That's how he works. He's got his – think about it. The biggest guys in the rumor mill of the NFL, Schefter, Rappaport, all these guys. You ever hear him say anything bad about Howie Roseman? No. Why? Because he's got their ears. I am a firm believer that those guys get all their Eagles information from the office of one Howard Roseman Esquire, whatever the hell he wants to call himself these days. 2 quarterbacks torpedoed in less than 2 years by this front office. To me, as Chris said, they don't know what they're doing. So I'm not excited about all these future picks because I don't know if they even know how to use them.
All right, let's roll on to the positives of this trade. Let's start out with the good. Lead us off, Chris. What is good for the Eagles in moving from number 6 to number 12?
So the positives is that this team was not one player away. I'm going to ignore the people that we might have missed out on. But we're getting an extra 4th-round pick that we Eagles fans were begging to get back after we traded it for Jannard Avery last year. And now we have a 4th-round pick, which the whole thing is this team not only needs star players, we just need players. Like, we lost about 20 free agents, and then the young guys that are here, they're either not good or they're unproven. So rookies can right away take a step in and play, or should be able to, because you don't know what Davion Taylor is. You truthfully don't know what Kayvon Wallace is. You don't even exactly know what Jalen Hurts is. Jalen Reagor's coming off an injury, but I think he's going to step up. And not to mention, all these guys have to learn a new system, and you have to integrate them into a completely new coaching staff and culture. So it's a big ask. But it's the big positives is that this group, it's young, and they're going to be coming up together. Like, it seems like they're banding together around Jalen Hurts, which is a good thing. The leadership thing was never an issue with him. And another thing is the core vets are sticking together and not abandoning ship, and that means a lot to them. I mean, if you're a young guy like Javon Hargrave and seeing that Fletcher Cox is still here and Brandon Graham is still here, it means a lot. And then the linemen like Driscoll, they see that Lane Johnson and Brandon Brooks are sticking around. That's a positive. So they understand it's kind of a rebuild, but they know that the foundation's kind of shaping together.
Scotty Drown says Kwity Paye is Howie's pick at number 12. We're going to get into that very, very soon.
One note on that. With Howie Roseman as the GM, the Eagles have never selected a non-defensive lineman between 10 and 15. Just
all right.
Food for thought. Anyways, go ahead.
All right. And we, of course, there's some Sixers hate that jumps in here as we're going. But anyway, Shane, what are the positives in this trade for the Eagles?
So I've got 3 positives. One is, first of all, we consider the Eagles to be bad at drafting. That's no secret. But the truth is the draft is a little bit more of a crapshoot than any of us want to admit. Now, the Eagles have been very bad, but accordingly, the Eagles move down. They get another first-round pick. That should excite people because it represents another dart throw. Even if you consider it a blind dart throw while you're drunk, it's one more throw at the board, even though it's a year down the road. So the Eagles have another swing that they can take. It gives you maximum flexibility next offseason. If Jalen Hurts is not the guy, nobody has more draft capital, potentially 3 first-round picks to be able to move up and get their guy. So the Eagles have the best shot to move up for QB1 next year if it's necessary. If the Deshaun Watson allegations are cleared up and he is available next offseason, the Eagles have more capital than anybody to go and get him. And then the third one is if Jalen Hurts is the guy, or if we need to see one more year, he showed growth, we want to give him another year, then you've got 3 first-round picks in next year's draft, which is a more certain draft class. You will not be dealing with COVID opt-outs. You'll have a combine. You'll have a lot of these things that are missing from this draft process. So I think there's a lot of positives that come out of the trade down for the Eagles.
Rob.
Okay, I'm going to try and do this. I'm going to try very, very hard to do this. My one positive is Shane kind of alluded to it. You now have set yourself up where Jalen Hurts is not the guy. You can make a move for a proven guy. If the allegations clear up with Deshaun Watson, I don't care how old Russell Wilson is. Maybe after another year, this thing falls apart with him in Seattle. You could go after Russell Wilson. Those things would be exciting. They would be exciting. I don't necessarily like the idea of, they get another dart throw because, yes, their pick can very well be top 5 or 6 next year. But those other 2 picks are probably mid to late 20s. So, yeah, I guess you could use them to trade up. But I trust the 4 of us to make a better pick in the 20s than the Philadelphia Eagles front office to do. I don't care if they had every pick in the 20s. I would believe that every one of those guys could end up being a bust. So you have that. And look, I think the only other good thing that comes out of this is there is no QB controversy for this season. Jalen Hurts is going to be your guy. And I think that you owe it to this kid after all the turmoil of the last year to give the kid a fair shot and see what he does. He is a leader. He does have those intangibles. Can he put it together on the field now with these young guys? So, I like the fact that there is no QB controversy this year, and this trade kind of solidifies that unless, they decide they want to draft Mac Jones at 12.
Roll in the negatives, Rob. And just lead off with you.
Oh, man. I think I hit you with all my negatives. But, look, there's so many. There's little ones that, for me, bother me. For example, that this trade back has now put them directly behind the Giants and the Cowboys. Okay, so this is just like a mental thing for me, because if the Cowboys select J.C. Horn and the Giants decide they want to select a Jalen Waddle, how are we going to feel? We're going to be friggin' miserable. Like, we're going to be miserable probably anyway. Let's face it. But that right, so that bothers me. The fact that I don't trust Howie Roseman in the teens, and Shane made me feel even worse with his stat that in between picks 10 to 15, he only drafts defensive linemen, which is the one. Like, look, there are 2 areas that I think that they could get really good value later in this draft, and it's offensive line and defensive line. You need one of those guys, the wide receivers or the corners in this range. And if they're going to try and outsmart us because you win the game in the trenches, well, guess what, guys? You haven't won a lot over the last couple of years, in my opinion. So I just draft the guy. Like, if J.C. Horn's the last guy left, then there's no question of what you need to do in that moment. But I don't trust Howie Roseman. So that's a negative, is now Howie has a bigger chance to screw it up. The other one is it's Jamar Chase and Kyle Pitts. I just have to say their names. Like, one of those guys could have been that finally that pass catcher that we haven't had for a long period of time. Like, think about it. Terrell Owens came over here, and it was amazing, right? Back in the early 2000s. It lasted 1 year. I want that 8 to 9 year guy. And they just said, it's not important. We're in a rebuild. So I don't know. I'm ranting. I'm rambling. I think I hit all my negatives.
Shane, negatives.
So obviously the biggest negative, 12 is easier to mess up than 6.
Yeah, totally.
So let's set that one aside. Everybody knows that one. A few others. For me, a big negative, this means you're out of the QB sweepstakes in a very good quarterback class. I've written articles, I've talked about how the Eagles would and should consider taking a quarterback. I would have taken any of the top 4 and considered them a significant upgrade over Jalen Hurts. I wouldn't have taken Mac Jones, but I consider him a better prospect than Jalen Hurts. So very good QB class. You're out of that now. You're out of the Chase Pitts range. I mean, maybe. I don't know where Pitts ends up going. I know that there's not as much consensus on Chase being wide receiver 1 among NFL guys as you think. You've had people allude to that. And wide receiver 1's not the ultimate goal anyways. I mean, Justin Jefferson was wide receiver 5 last year, and look at the year he had. You think the Raiders wish they had that pick instead of Ruggs? So, I mean, getting wide receiver 1's not necessarily always the thing. But another negative, and I mean, this could play both ways, but I'm going to say it's a negative, is that this shows you that Howie feels secure in his job because he made a move where the big payoff piece is next year. And so that's good because a lot of times GMs on the hot seat will start to make stupid moves, selling out to improve quickly and hurting the future. That's not happening. So that's a good thing that's not happening. But I'm not thrilled about the fact that Howie feels this confident that he's going to be here long term.
What about you, Chris?
Yeah, negative. I mean, you mentioned like what the Raiders did, and I don't want to be like the Raiders that have been overthinking their draft capital. I mean, I like Henry Ruggs, but to take him over those guys was crazy. Like he had a lot of upside, but to even take him over Jefferson was crazy. Like to take him over CeeDee Lamb was crazy because like they knew that they had a deep threat guy like Tyrell Williams, and like they couldn't have. And they took Cleveland Ferrell at 3 a couple years ago, and they moved up and they got Damon Arnett. Like it's just like crazy stuff like that, and like. But that's us too, though. And you see what happens to teams like that. Like the Raiders are like, okay, like maybe Derek Carr's the guy, and then they have like Mariota as the backup. And now like the Eagles are like, well, maybe Jalen Hurts is the guy, and like Joe Flacco is the backup. And then it's just the whole negative part is that I think that we pulled the trigger a little too fast, unless like Miami's like now or never. Because if you waited until literally at 4 p.m. today after those pro days happened, people would have been on the phone like, listen, how do I get to 6? I need Pitts or Chase. Are you willing to talk and move back? I think the price from other teams might have been a little crazier. 12, in my opinion, is such a weird spot for us because I've been saying that like it was perfect for San Fran to move up to like 6 maybe if a quarterback was sliding. But for us, it's like I feel like there's going to be maybe 2 or 3 guys that they really like, but also a little bit further back, maybe you feel more comfortable reaching for maybe Bateman or someone like that. It just seems like it's kind of like the Bermuda Triangle gray area of like the trade backs at 12 because Surtain, Horn, Smith, or Waddle are like the 4 guys you're hoping fall right into your lap at 12, and maybe one of them falls back to you, and it just sucks. I mean, the thing with Chase and Pitts is everyone knows that those 2 guys, if they're healthy and are just completely not misused, they're going to have long, successful careers. Like, you see it. You watch them play on the field. What they did today just confirms it. Those 2 guys are unbelievable. They would have been consensus top 10 picks last year. Those are the negatives, is that we've been overthinking and we've been looking for someone like those 2. And then without even getting the potential or hope to get them, we literally hit the eject button a month before. And now we have to wait again to see if the compensation pans out. And it's like you want to support Jalen Hurts and get people around him, and then you had the potential to possibly get him a 6'6" like alpha, or just a guy that's running 4.3 speed and also plays like he's 6'6" in Jamar Chase, and you just move the opportunity to do that.
All right, let's roll on here. Before we get into our rankings, last question, guys. Do you expect the Eagles to stay put at 12? There was some chatter on social media that the Eagles could possibly trade up into that number 9 spot and land one of those guys like Jalen Waddle. Any thought on that, Chris? Or do you think they're just going to stay put at number 12 and hope their guy falls to their lap?
Yeah, we always say Howie doesn't stay still. I mean, you saw what he did for Dillard. You've seen what he's done in the past when he's moved up or back. I mean, when they got Goddard, they moved back. Right now, I feel like they're at 12, but if someone slides to 9, it's going to be really interesting. Like, if Pitts falls to 9, do they move up with Denver? I would say it's probably like 60-40 more than 40-60 that they would move back up just because they're scared that a team like the Giants could potentially take him. It's really hard to tell right now where their head's at. Maybe I think the big thing is, do they want to keep Zach Ertz? Do they want to get that cap relief? And will a team ahead of us, let's say a Denver or something, they want to pair Noah Fant with Zach Ertz or something, and we can offload him over there? That would be a big move. I would say it comes down to what the price is. It's kind of hard to say. Like, scary thought though, other than Shane, if Fields falls to 9 and Denver's trying to see if we would move up and give them some picks, I think that would be a scary Harry Roseman, where he would really consider taking potentially a top 3 quarterback in the draft. If he falls to 9, if he would move up and get him.
All right. What about you, Shane?
If we moved up for Justin Fields at 9, I would do a backflip on our live stream, and I can't do a backflip, but I'd try it anyways. I wanted to throw this up real quick while we're talking about receivers and all that. I went back and looked since 2011 on. This is the number of pass catchers off the board by pick 12 each year. So 2017 is the top with 3. Okay. Last year, as good as that receiver class was, not a single one was off the board at pick 12. And so, like, people that are upset saying we had a chance to get a playmaker, out of Kyle Pitts, Jalen Waddle, Jamar Chase, and Devonta Smith, I would be shocked if one of them is not there at 12. Mm-hmm. I would be shocked. Now, it might not be Chase or Pitts, but I would be shocked if one of those guys isn't there. So, okay. Anyways, I just wanted to throw that out there.
So you think the Eagles are going to stand pat at number 12 and just see what happens?
I'd be surprised if they make another move before draft day. On draft night, I think it largely depends on how the board falls. If they're targeting one of those defensive line players, they're not moving up. They could even move back again because those guys are going to be there. If they're targeting a wide receiver, or if by some chance you see a quarterback fall, I think you could maybe see him jump back up, but I would guess they're going to sit.
What about you, Rob?
Yeah, I do not believe they will move. You know, I look at last year, they have an opportunity to go up in front of Dallas, go up a few picks. CeeDee Lamb's on the board. Atlanta's there. They don't do it. What happens? CeeDee Lamb ends up in Dallas. So even as fans, we might sit here and go, oh, my God, Kyle Pitts is still there and Dallas is picking next. They got to get in front of Dallas. You know, Dallas, they might – it doesn't matter to the Eagles. They don't think about it the way us fans do. I would be stunned if they go back up. I would love it. I mean, that's kind of my – the little inkling of hope I have is that they do go up to 9 – to secure one of these guys. And Shane is right. Like, you look at last year's draft class and all those receivers were supposed to go top 10 and they didn't. I just think this year you have a lot of teams in that top 10 who could really use that standout presence of a pass catcher or a tight end. You have Atlanta, you have Cincinnati, Detroit loves drafting wide receivers. And now they have a former tight ends coach as their new head coach. There's so many different ways that it could go. And look, we know it, right? We all do mock drafts in the Draft Network. And I'm sitting here, I've been pissed every single one I've done since the trade because Jalen Waddle never falls to 12. That don't mean anything. We know that anything can happen. And as long as one of those pass catchers was there at 12, I'm okay. But Shane has scared the living hell out of me with this defensive line talk tonight that I don't even know if I want to watch the draft anymore.
All right. Well, let's get into it. All right, let's talk about our top 3 prospects for the Eagles at number 12. We're going to go from 3 to 2 to 1. So everyone here is going to give me their third. Then we're going to go to number 2 and 1. Lead us off, Chris. Who's your number 3 prospect for the Eagles at number 12?
So picking number 3 was the toughest because I feel like my 1 and 2 are pretty solidified. I picked Patrick Surtain, the second from Alabama, because I think that Jonathan Gannon's defense fits him really well. He's a 6'2", 205 corner from Alabama, SEC Defensive Player of the Year. He ran a 4.4 240, 39-inch vert, 10 feet, 11-inch broad jump, 18 on the bench. And the thing with him is I definitely have him as CB3 right now, but Kayla Farley's injury history is kind of scaring me a little bit, especially knowing our staff. I feel like Surtain has easily the highest floor out of all the corners, but his ceiling isn't crazy. There's a lot of tape I've watched where when he really gets challenged, he's struggled a little bit, but I feel like with a strong system and with Anthony Harris and some other people on our team, I think he could succeed. And I think that he's kind of perfect for a Jonathan Gannon system with his size and everything. So that's number 3 for me.
Love it. The way football is these days, everything's dime, nickel. You need to have an elite CB1 in there, and I love this pick. Shane, you're up, man.
Okay, so these are always interesting to put together because you're like, who's going to be there, who's going to be gone, and so. The guy I put at number 3 is J.C. Horn. Now, J.C. Horn I have him ranked below Surtain. I'd rather have Surtain, but I'm assuming I think he's more likely to be gone. So I'm threw Horn up here, but it's good anyways. We get to talk about some different guys. So the number one thing about Horn is he is aggressive. Like he plays every snap. Like the guy he's lined up across from, like hit his car in the parking lot before the game. He is the toughest guy on the field, and he knows it. I mean, he's got swag. Like this is Jalen Mills, but actually talented. Okay, he's super athletic. He played almost only man coverage. Okay, so he's pretty similar to how the Lions used Darius Slay when he was in Detroit. Really good man cover defender, wins with aggressiveness, physicality, hard jams at the line. He's not. Surprisingly, as aggressive and physical as he is, he's not that great a tackler, and he doesn't get interceptions. His first interception came in his 3rd collegiate year. So something to keep an eye on. He's really handsy. I think he's probably going to draw a lot of flags early as he kind of figures out what he can get away with. He gives you the ability, though, to line up and play cover 1 man with Darius Slay on the opposite side, to play cover 2 man, to play cover 0. He has not played much zone. But I do think he could thrive in cover 2 zone where he's got the safety over the top. He can sit in short zones, be aggressive, attack downhill. That's projection, though. I mean, I think he could do it. Don't know for sure. If you told me I had to guess today who the Eagles would pick, I would tell you this is the guy. Like, I think he's the most likely to be there at a position of need. I think it could be what they're looking at. I've got concerns about him. I wrote a scouting report. I came out lower on him. I know lower on him than Chris is. Lower on him than kind of the scouting community as a whole is. But I do think he's a player with a ton of upside if he can kind of carry through that transition to the NFL.
Rob, who's your number 3?
But my number 3 is the same guy as Shane. I like J.C. Horn at this position. For all the things Shane just said, I'm not going to reiterate all that. But I'll tell you, I am a guy that loves the intangibles in players, that loves that it factor. And if you caught his interview from this past week and the way he carried himself in that interview and the way he talked about, listen, the draft is just a draft. It's where you get picked, but you got to go out there and you got to perform. There's not a lot of young guys that are out there saying that, right? He said, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm the best in the draft or I'm the best corner. I like to believe I am, but I have to go out there and show it. And that's the kind of guy I like. And I love the tough, the gritty player. And I do believe with some of the veterans here, it would really help a J.C. Horn. So I'm going to, I'll keep it short and sweet. Shane really did a good job of breaking them down. But I like J.C. Horn there as my number 3.
All right, there is J.C. Horn's Pro day number is 4.3940, 41.5 vert, 11.1 broad jump. Let's move on to number 2. Lead us off, Rob. Who is your number 2 prospect, man?
All right, my number 2 is Devonte Smith, and this is one of those situations where I'm not going to go into that smartest guy in the room again. Everyone told us last year, Justin Jefferson is just a slot receiver. He can't, you don't want to waste a pick on Justin Jefferson, just a slot receiver. Well, I know everyone says, well, if he was here, he wanted to do what he did. Fine. But Justin Jefferson showed me he's not just a slot receiver. So now what's the big knock on Devonta Smith? Well, he's 6 foot 170. No one's ever been good at 6 foot 1. It's only few guys. Stop. Just stop. Look at what this guy has done on the field at one of the best collegiate programs in the country. Okay? If you're sitting there at 12 and the Heisman winner, Devonta Smith, is sitting on the board, and he's the only guy left out of all the names that we're throwing out there, to me, it's a no-brainer. This guy is a difference maker. He has rapport with your quarterback. Okay, he played with your quarterback. Let's not act like – I'm not saying that should be your end-all, be-all decision maker, but that's a pretty good point. And the guy just performs. He's got the stats. He's a tough kid. He can run the routes. You could get him the ball in space, right? Everyone wanted to talk about speed last year, and you have Jalen Reagor. Imagine having Jalen Reagor and Devonta Smith on the field for your offense. That sounds like fireworks to me. So if Devonta Smith is there and the Eagles draft him, let's not worry about the size thing right now. You got a hell of a football player at number 12.
I was muted.
Shane, who's your number 2?
I was about to ask if everybody lost audio or just me. My number 2, and I debated a lot about who to put on here, but I went ahead and put Rashaan Slater. Rashaan Slater, he's listed in the draft as an offensive tackle. Very fundamentally sound player, great footwork, great technique. He's got good athleticism. He had great tape in 2019, especially against like Chase Young. Went the number 2 overall to the football team. Had a great rookie season. Like Slater went step for step with him. Now he is 6'4", 6'3", a little over 300 pounds. That's not the Eagles' typical tackle build. They like the bigger guys, but I think he's versatile. I think he's probably going to be better on the interior offensive line than offensive tackle. But if you draft a guy like that, you let him fail outside before you move him in. He would be an upgrade over Mailata and Dillard. So I think if you draft him, if he's there, you draft him, you put him out there at left tackle. And, even as he kind of learns, I think he's going to outshine Dillard and Mailata. And if he doesn't really blossom as a left tackle, you can slide him into left guard next year when Jason Kelsey retires and Samala goes to center. So I think he brings you the opportunity to better a position now a little bit and better a position a lot in the future. And so I really like Rashaan Slater. I don't know that he's likely to be there, but if he is, I would definitely take him.
All right. Chris, who's your number 2, man?
Just like Rob, I have Devonta Smith from Alabama, the Heisman winner. I mean, I just did a breakdown on him, and Nick Saban, he had an interview at the Pro Day, and he was talking about the size and everything. He's like, people don't understand how competitive this kid is, and everyone talks about stuff that hasn't happened. This guy's played a lot of football in a really, really aggressive atmosphere and with all these NFL guys around him, and he's always been producing. And obviously he got hurt in his last game, but it's like he's coming across the middle and he broke his finger and he's already out there in his pro day catching balls. It's not something I really worry about. And you have and the one thing is people are like, oh, well, like this receiver at this size couldn't do that. And this receiver, it's like, did any of them win a Heisman? Any of those receivers? And the thing with Devonta Smith is he is by far the smartest wide receiver in the draft. It's funny because before we got on, I said Mac Jones, definitely not the most talented, but he's the smartest. I did a breakdown the other week. and you just see the two communicating at the line of scrimmage. And Devonta Smith knows exactly how to set up corners. He knows exactly how to read defenses, and he would be Hurts' best friend if you have him there. You can go inside, you can go outside, you can throw screens to him, and he's just a safety net. Obviously, people talk about his size. I don't think many people have nearly the catch radius that he does. You see the catches that he makes on the sidelines. He's insane in the red zone, and he just sets up people. I mean, what he did to Derek Stingley against LSU, who arguably the best cornerback in college football the last 2 years, even though he had a little bit of a down year last year, like Smith's the guy. I mean, he's a plug-and-play day one starter. You have him in the inside. He can go outside a little bit, and then Jalen Reagor adds some speed off the top. It would be really interesting to see.
The good news is I do think Sirianni is like perfect for Devonte Smith to get him moving on offense. But do you think this guy has the strength to beat press coverage at the next level, man? Like that's the biggest question.
I
right?
do. Yep.
Good. All right. Let's go on to number one, man. Chris, who's your number one Eagles target?
Number one, I have J.C. Horn, 6'1", 205, 4.39 40, almost a 42-inch vert. 11-inch broad jump, 19 on the bench. The reason why I like J.C. Horn is people talk about his floor and like some negatives on him, but he's like the ultimate competitor in the draft. I don't think anyone has more confidence than him. I said about a month ago that Patrick Surtain's a guy that you can plug and play, day one NFL starter. He'll have like a 10 to 15-year career. Kayla Farley, he's a guy with kind of a shaky floor, but a lot of upside with his athleticism and size. But J.C. Horn's a guy that I think has a really solid floor, and then he has the most potential to become like a Jalen Ramsey because of the way he carries himself on and off the field. He said that I'm the standard. That was one of the big things that he said at the pro day that I love. And if you're going to play in Philadelphia, you need to have the same mindset that he does. He thinks he's the best player on the field. He's not going to be afraid of anyone coming his way. And Darius Slay, I'm not worried about him next year, but how much longer is he going to be here? And J.C. Horn would be a perfect guy to help him on the other side, because if you look at the Eagles' opponents next year, it's insane. You have Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, I'm trying to remember. It's insane. Keenan Allen, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, potentially Kyle Pitts. Like, you have all these guys heading their way to face the Eagles defense right now, which is kind of like uncertain how it's going to look right now. And if you have a J.C. Horn, is he going to get beat as a rookie sometimes? But I know that kid's going to strap up every single snap across from Darius Slay and be up for the challenge to go against some of the top receivers in the NFL. And that's why he's my number 1 at 12.
Love it. All right, Shane, who's your number one, man?
My number one is Jalen Waddle. And he's the number one playmaker on my board. If we were sitting at 6 and Waddle, Chase, Smith, and Pitts were all there, I'm taking Waddle. Out of the receivers, he's the only receiver in my mind whose skills match their physical traits. And so I'm going to use that to piggyback and talk about two more guys real quick. But, Devonta Smith, Chris and Rob both talked about him. And I'm concerned about the size. 170 pounds, maybe. And again, this isn't a guy that, he's been at Alabama, the best football program in the nation for several years. Like, if he could gain the weight, he would have gained the weight. And so you got a 170-pound guy, and what's he best at? He's best at beating the press and contested catch. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that at the next level. He's an outlier in height and weight. But like they say, he's an ultimate football IQ guy. He's a technician. But he's tapped that out now. And so I'm worried he'd be limited by his size. Analytics guys are not going to like him. And we know Howie Roseman's an analytics guy. Chase, he's an X receiver. He's not great off a press. He's adequate. He's going to face that ramped up at the next level. But, his best traits, contested catch, jump ball skills, but he's 6'1". He's not a 6'4", 6'5" guy out here. But you look at Waddle. He's exactly what you would expect. I don't like pro comps, but, you watch Waddle, and I swear it's like you're watching Tyreek Hill. He's got untouchable speed. He commands safety help no matter where he lines up. He can improve as a route runner, but you saw growth from 2019 to early 2020 in route running. He plays outside at the Z. He can be in the slot. They used him in the backfield even some. He generates a lot of separation, which is going to be really good for a quarterback like Hurts that doesn't always trust his eyes initially. He's going to generate separation and throwing windows, and he's excellent with the ball in his hands after the catch. And so the Eagles liked Jalen Reagor for his athleticism. They will like Jalen Waddle for the exact same reason, except Waddle is a much better athlete. And so I would be so excited if Waddle fell to 12. And again, we're saying fall. Henry Ruggs was the fastest receiver last year, and he didn't go till 12 as the first guy off the board. So if Waddle's there, I would love it.
Love it, love it, love it. All right, Rob, finish this off. Who is your number one prospect for the Eagles at 12?
Same as Shane. I am praying that Jalen Waddle is going to fall his way down to 12. I feel like Jalen Waddle is a guy that everybody forgot about because of the injury this year. And the fact it was, after last year, he was the guy being more talked about than, say, Devonte Smith, right? Until the injury happens. I can remember at the end of the year, and I can remember after last year's draft talking to people and them saying, "Oh, don't worry, the Eagles will get Jalen Waddle next year." Like that was the big thing. Like Jalen Waddle is going to be a guy who could fall into the Eagles' range. I've never wanted the draft network to be more wrong than it's been the last week for me, where Jalen Waddle is going somewhere between 7 and 10 in all of those picks. And a couple of them he goes at 11 to the Giants, which I'm telling you right now, if Chase goes at 6 or Pitts goes at 6 and Waddle goes at 11, seriously, you might have to send the police over to my house just to check on me to make sure I'm okay. I don't even know what I'm going to do, but the idea – and look, you could tell with Smith and Waddle, I want the Eagles to get that difference maker at the wide receiver position. I think Jalen Reagor could be a nice player in this league. I'll never let Deibs live it down that I made a bet with him about Jefferson versus Reagor, and I won going away. Besides the point, I'm not going to say it again. But I think Reagor becomes a better player with a true stud wide receiver next to him. And Jalen Waddle, to me, as that X-receiver, makes this whole offense that much more dynamic. And at that point, I would stop hating Howie Roseman just a smidge for making this trade.
Yang Gang 22 says Waddle and Reagor. Intriguing. Justin says Jalen Hurts equals Tyreek Hill. And any comments on that? Like, I hate player comps, but if you had to give a comp for Jalen Waddle, who's your pick, guys?
I would say Tyreek Hill and probably Percy Harvin, a little bit of both of them. The thing with Tyreek Hill. The thing with Waddle, I'm a huge fan of him, and I think if he did play the whole year, there's 0% chance Devonta Smith would have won the Heisman because Waddle was outpacing him and he was outshowing him the entire beginning of the year. I was hyping up Waddle like crazy. When I saw him get hurt on that return, I was so mad, but I was also like, maybe he drops to us. But the thing with him is he plays every single snap like it's his last. Like some of the catches he makes, he'll just like I'm not surprised he got hurt the way he goes in the air. Like I think it was the Missouri game. Mac Jones threw an absolute bomb in the middle of the field, and he jumps in between two guys and gets, like, helicoptered. But, like, it just shows you, like, I don't care that he's 5'10", 180. That dude plays outside of his body. Like, if the ball's anywhere, it's not going to get picked off. He'll knock out the corner of safety before if he can't get to the ball. And that's why I like Devonta Smith, too. Every single time it's a comeback hitch or anything, they're coming back for it. So many interceptions that the Eagles have let up. Everyone's at the stadium or at home like, Carson, like, what are you doing? Like, against Washington last year, our receivers are not aggressive enough. Like, every ball, you want it to be yours. Those two guys come running back for every single ball. You see it from guys like Julio Jones. You see it from, like, when, like, all the other guys – our receivers, like you saw, like Hightower, like jog back. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw the Quez Watkins video that was on the timeline a couple of days ago on the comeback. If he runs that route in a game, he should be cut. Like that, like it was so bad and it was so slow, and that's why when people see guys like Jalen Waddle run their routes, like the dude's explosive. Like if you had him and Reagor both on the field at the same time, defensive coordinators have no idea what the hell to do. And then you have Miles Sanders just loop out of the backfield when those two bring the safeties and corners deep. It would be really intriguing. Jalen Waddle's awesome.
Love it.
And
love
people want to make him out to be injury prone because he got injured this year. But I mean, this isn't Deshaun Jackson, okay? And we're scarred by Deshaun Jackson. But we're like, oh, little fast guy, he's got to be injury prone. Like, he outweighs Devonte Smith. So, I mean, he's 3 inches smaller, but he outweighs him, and he's going to run a 4.2 something. If he didn't run at the pro day, but if he runs, he's going to run a 4.2 something. So,
all right, now we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to give you just who is your pick at number 12 right now, gun to your head, and then plugs. You're up, Shane.
is this who we think they're going to take or who we would take? Like, what?
Who is Howie Roseman going to take? You're going to do this again probably about 3 more times before the draft happens. But right now, who is your guy? Who's your gut feeling?
I think it's gun to my head. Most likely guy they're taking is J.C. Horn. I think he's most likely to be there at a position that the Eagles value and would look at.
And where can we find the Shane?
You can find me on Twitter at @halfandhalf_TPL. You can follow all my work on the Painted Lines.
And then Justin says, Rob, we're going to throw it to you. How are you qualified to speak on Party on Broad when you're a Colts fan?
Well, you know, it's the same. I was kind of hoping my Colts hat that I was going to order it just for this show so I could wear it, but I haven't pulled the trigger yet on the fitted Colts hat yet. But it's coming. Don't worry.
All right, number 12, Rob. Who are the Eagles taking? What is your gut feeling, and where can we find you, man?
Who's the number 1 punter in this draft class? Because that's probably where they go after losing their punter. Now, I know it sounds like I'm just biting off of Shane, but seeing as though we totally disagreed on the trade itself, but I do believe that J.C. Horn is going to be the pick. I think it's a position they value. I think out of all the guys we've talked about, he's the most likely to be there. But with that said, am I at all going to be surprised if they go defensive or offensive lineman? Absolutely not. And we'll all get back on here and we'll curse about – well, I'll curse about Howie Roseman. You can find me at Philly_Madness. If you want anger for the next month, I got you covered.
And then last up, our special guest, dude, Chris, thank you again for joining in. This guy is the man for 4th and John. Make sure you give him a follow. Who is your pick, Chris, and where can we find you?
I think it's going to come down to whoever Dallas doesn't take at corner. I think it's going to be Surtain or I think it's going to be Horn. Obviously, if Smith or Waddle lands there, it's going to be really interesting to see what they do. But I do think that they're really eyeing two of the corners. Let's see what happens. Hopefully 12 is still a no-brainer for them. But I want to see them hit on the 4th-round pick they picked up, and I'm really interested to see how the 3 first-rounders end up next year. You can find me right here, Malley_Chris_24. Tons of player interviews and breakdowns on YouTube. Just go on 4th and John or just look up my name or the players. Just had one with Austin Watkins, which is great. He talked to the Eagles, and I'm telling you, that kid's going to be a really nice steal in the draft. Little raw, but, I mean, 6'3", 210, and – he didn't run his 40 yet, but he said he's going to surprise people, so we'll see.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Please be sure to smash that like and subscribe button. Turn on notifications. We'll be back next Tuesday. We've got Mark Schofield coming on next Monday to continue to break down the top draft picks for the Eagles. That's Monday night. So in a few days, that'll be coming. We'll be live. Please be sure to join us, ask Mark questions, and continue to break down the Eagles draft. For Shane, for Rob, for Chris, thanks for watching, guys. Stay awesome.
And the Sixers win it! Wow! Oh, man, Embiid just posterized Russell Westbrook. You love the building!